What do we think? Which one looks better? Hey guys, I'm Tom the Tech Chap, and I want to find out how the camera on the new OnePlus 7 Pro compares with the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus. They both have triple camera setups, including a main, ultra-wide, and telephoto zoom lens. Before we start, if you want to see even more camera tests, plus a lot of behind-the-scenes shots, then don't forget to follow me on Instagram at The Tech Chap. I put a link in the description below. Alright, so let's get straight into it, and they both take great photos, but the first thing I notice here is the S10 Plus seems to handle dynamic range a bit better. The blacks seem to get crushed in darker areas on the OnePlus, such as the shadows of the tree. It does give the OnePlus a more contrasty, punchier look, but you can definitely see more fine detail in the S10's shot. Switching to the ultra-wide lens, you can see you get a lot more in the frame with the S10 Plus, although the result is you get more of that fisheye look. Which one do you prefer? The colours on the S10 Plus also come across as a little oversaturated. It's certainly eye-catching, but the OnePlus is more true to life. And finally, the telephoto lens, and straight away you can see the difference between the 2x optical zoom of the S10 Plus and the 3x zoom you get on the 7 Pro. In terms of quality, if we crop in by 2x on both, the 7 Pro is definitely sharper here. The landmark pinnacle text is much clearer. I always think it's amazing you can find areas like this just a few hundred meters from all the skyscrapers in London, but straight away you can see a big difference in the colors. Not only is the S10 more vibrant, but it's also got a warmer tone. If we zoom in by 3x, you can see the difference in the color of the path. The level of detail is pretty similar, but you can see the S10 evens out the brighter areas of the path a bit better. Now there's a lot going on in this and the tiles on the floor at the bottom. The S10 Plus is a little bit sharper and more detailed. And colors definitely seem to be a bit off. I mean, the road is blue. In fact, looking at the white, the whole image compared to the OnePlus. On the tube now, and if I'm honest, I'm kind of struggling to spot many differences at all here. Although if we zoom in by 3x, well, first of all, I'm worried that this lady has confused her coffee with her phone, but also you can see the S10 is a little bit more detailed, particularly if you look at her yellow bag. If you've never been to London before, I definitely recommend it. I love the contrast you get between all the old and the new architecture. Again though, we can see that bluish tint to the S10, particularly on the road and that Paris Garden white sign. Once again, if we zoom in by 3x, well, actually there's nothing really in it. They're very similar, bar the color temperature difference. Now this is really interesting though. You can see how the S10 Plus handles the bright highlights of the bulb far better than the OnePlus. It seems to do a better job of evening out the bright areas and the dark areas, so better dynamic range. And so you can see the individual filaments of the bulb compared to just a blown out orangey ball of light on the OnePlus. Okay, so here we've got Adam from ASBYT on the right and Saf from SuperSaf TV on the left. And of course we're having a cheeky Nando's. Switching to portrait mode on the OnePlus and live focus on the S10 Plus, you can see the OnePlus uses the telephoto lens for portrait shots. That's not necessarily a bad thing depending on the framing you want, but field of view aside, the S10 Plus is much crisper and more detailed here. Here's another example, and this was after a very long day, but I definitely do prefer the colors of the S10 for portrait shots, and the wider field of view means you can get more of your friends in the shot, although I think we caught Phil off guard for this one. The beer taps on the OnePlus photo here looks like someone's just dropped the highlights by 50 points in Photoshop to manage the bright logos. I mean, look at the difference between the Goose Midway beer, although to its credit, the actual pint glass does look sharper, or at least more in focus on the OnePlus. Okay, so let's move on to some night shots, and they're both pretty good, although like the bulb in the earlier photo, the S10 seems to handle the bright streetlight a little bit better here, but there's not much in it. Both phones do offer night modes, but before we get to that, here's just a normal low light shot. And I have to say, I think the OnePlus wins this one. Just look how much cleaner, less noisy, and more color accurate the Stormtrooper is versus the S10 Plus. And again, you can see the OnePlus has blurred the background. Now, if we take the same shot but in their respective night modes, it clearly brightens things up, and particularly with OnePlus, makes everything sharper. So the night modes do make a difference. Photos are clearly brighter and a bit better exposed, but it's nothing like the magical night sight of the Google Pixel or even the night mode of the Huawei P30 Pro. Alright, so let's switch over to selfies, and I promise I won't subject you to my face for too much longer. First impressions, the S10 Plus is sharper, but I do like the wider field of view on the OnePlus. And this is with the S10 in the wider selfie mode. This time in selfie portrait mode, you do get a nice, very small living room. You might be able to get an idea of the stabilization on both, but they both look pretty good. We'll get to the rear camera in a second, but I just thought we should kick off with the selfie, and we've got a bit of a different lighting there. But yeah, what do you think? Which one shoots better selfie video. Now at 4K 30 on the S10 Plus, so it should be sharper and more detailed, but again, let me know if you can see much of a difference. I'm not sure how often I would actually shoot at 4K for selfie videos, because you're gonna get bigger file sizes, and generally I would then transfer these videos to someone else. I'm not sure I kind of see a huge difference in resolution, but they still look really good. We've got 4K video shot on the rear camera. Now they both can shoot 4K 60, but I'm sticking with 30 FPS here. I'm sure these commuters at Waterloo Station are loving having two cameras pointed at their faces, but as you can see, both phones shoot great 4K video. The S10 is brighter overall, and I think a little more pleasing to look at. You can also switch to the telephoto. Shooting 4K video at night, you can see the OnePlus's stabilization is really struggling. The S10 is far smoother. I wasn't sure if this was just a one-off, so I tested it again, and yeah, it still looks like a shaky mess. Maybe it's something that can be fixed in a software update, but for now, low light video definitely goes to the S10 Plus. So then, which do you think came out on top? OnePlus 7 Pro or Galaxy S10 Plus? Vote in the poll at the top right, the little click out banner, and also let me know how you think they compare, and if you were going to buy one, which one you go for in the comments below. I really hope you found this video useful. Don't forget to check out my Instagram at TheTechChap, and make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you want to see more of my videos. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you next time right here on The Tech Chap.